It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, we are. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We are Red Eye Radio. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's Friday.
I can't.
I'm telling you, the last 3 weeks. I mean, I love it myself. I mean, we talked about it, how it's. I get this all the time, and you do too. How is it being a talk show? Well, like right now, it's absolutely wonderful.
Oh,
it's the best thing.
It really is.
It's the best thing ever. And what I try to explain to people is, they go, "How do you do a show every day?" I mean, every day, and it's like, because that's not the mindset. You mean you don't have a mindset? You have to do another show tomorrow and go, no, it's all one continuous show with a break in between.
Exactly.
It never ends.
We'll be right back, and we'll see you Sunday night. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And everything, because yesterday morning, the morning news cycle kind of runs the way a lot of people, organizations, administrations, politicians, like getting news out there for that morning news cycle so they can be on television and everything else. So that news cycle changes, and as it starts to change over and kind of refresh about, somebody inevitably, a couple times a week, I'll get home and like 5 minutes after our show ended, and I can tell the time on my notification. It'll show what time it came across. Breaking news, blah, 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 blah. And so a lot of things are announced in the morning for that. So it starts all over again as soon as we get off. And then right now with the Trump administration, it's not stopping. I mean, there's nothing. I really don't think he's sleeping at all. I thought he was sleeping about 45 minutes a night. I don't think he's sleeping at all. And so it's really great if you're in this business. I love it.
It is.
It's rich. It's like being at a buffet without the bad effects of being at a buffet all day. You know what I mean?
No, it is.
It's a nonstop buffet of stories that that are just great to talk about.
It's actually, as we said earlier this week, I called it, I think, information cocaine.
Yeah.
But because it is addicting, it really does get to be addicting, where I put down my phone for a couple of minutes, like I said yesterday, even trying to work out in the other room. When I get on the machine and you're doing reps and it takes about 10 minutes, I want to be holding my phone as I'm doing the exercise, moving back and forth in the machine, trying to catch the latest update.
Right.
And I can't do it. I leave the phone in the other room. And then if I have do not disturb off, it's just bing, 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 bing. I come back to there's 5 different headlines. It's like,
Yep.
One thing I don't want to forget, though, when we talk about, Trump signing the executive order, really 2 days ago now, to say, sorry, men, you don't play with women in sports. You don't use their same locker rooms. We've talked about Riley Gaines and how much of a difference she was in the United States. You and Martina Navratilova also talking about it, but not. She wasn't currently involved in it. She was a retired tennis player, but she came out and she was marginalized. She was now viewed as an oppressor of LGBTQ, and so she was out there, and she was out there yesterday saying, I can't believe that the Democrats did this. What happened to the Democratic Party? She still wants to be a Democrat, but she just cannot figure out how can they do this. And then you had really the first person, the first international celebrity, I think, was J.K. Rowling, the author.
Yeah.
She just came out early on and was pounding on this, and she took a lot of the fire. She really did. Well, she wrote this. She said, why do you care about a tiny fraction of the population line is and always was utterly ridiculous. Gender ideology has undermined freedom of speech, scientific truth, gay rights, and women's and girls' safety, privacy, and dignity. It also caused irreparable physical damage to vulnerable kids. Nobody voted for it. That's a great point.
Right.
Nobody voted for it. The vast majority of people disagree with it, yet it has been imposed top down by politicians, healthcare bodies, academia, sections of the media, celebrities, and even the police. Its activists have threatened and enacted violence on those who dared to oppose it. People have been defamed and discriminated against for questioning it. Jobs have been lost and lives have been destroyed, all for the crime of knowing that sex is real and it matters. When the smoke clears, it will only be too evident that this was never about the so-called vulnerable minority. By the way, we've been saying this for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
The left does not give a damn
No.
about people that believe that they are the other sex.
Right.
They don't care about them. But this was never about the so-called vulnerable minority, notwithstanding the fact that some very vulnerable people have been harmed. The power dynamics underpinning our society have been reinforced, not dismantled. The loudest voices throughout this entire fiasco have been people insulated from the consequences by their wealth and or status. They aren't likely to find themselves locked in a prison with a 6'4" rapist who's decided his name is now Dolores. They don't need state-funded rape crisis centers, nor do they ever frequent high street changing rooms. They simper from talk show sofas about those far nasty right bigots who don't want penises swinging around the girls' showers, secure in their knowledge that their private pool remains the safe place it always was. Those who benefited from the gender ideology, gender identity ideology, are men, both trans-identified and not. Some have been rewarded for having a cross-dressing kink by access to all spaces previously reserved for women. Others have parlayed their delicious new victim status into an excuse to threaten, assault, and harass women. Non-trans identified lefty bros have found a magnificent platform from which to display their own impeccably progressive credentials by jeering and sneering at the needs of women and girls, all while patting themselves on the back for giving away rights that aren't theirs. The actual victims in this mess have been women and children, especially the most vulnerable. Also, gay people who've resisted the movement and paid a horrible price, and regular people working in environments where one misplaced pronoun could see you vilified or constructively dismissed. Do not tell me that this is about a tiny minority. This movement has impacted society in disastrous ways, and if you had any sense, you'd be quietly deleting every trace of activist mantras and ad hominem attacks, false equivalents, and circular arguments from your X feeds, because the day is fast approaching when you want to pretend you always saw through this craziness and never believed it for a second. J.K. Rowling.
She's a good writer. She should do that for a living.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she could, you know.
It's but she just goes to every, by the way, slices through every argument that the left had.
Yep.
And points out what the actual picture is, what's going on. They don't care about. The left does not care about transgenders. We brought it up earlier. When a point was made up or brought up from the Berkeley professor, was it Josh Harley talking to the Berkeley professor and talking about the high suicide rate amongst transgenders?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's when everybody should hit the brakes and say, whoa, number one, is this true? And number two, if it is, why isn't this the number one focus right now? The mental health of these individuals. Well, the left doesn't care about that. They don't.
You know, and then it's like Gays Against Groomers came out, and you know, they had the quote where she said, "Gay, you know, some of the victims have been gay people who've resisted the movement and paid a horrible price." And Gays Against Groomers writes, "Absolutely true. Thank you for seeing us. us gays who've desperately been sounding the alarm. And then she writes back to them, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the demonization by trans activists of gay adults fighting to halt the medicalization and castration of gay kids has been appalling. I'll always have your back as you've had mine.
Yeah. Well, one prominent person in that regard, Martina Navratilova.
Yeah. Yep.
And, the Gays Against Grooming, we talked about that group when they came out and were part of the whole thing saying, look, we can't have this. It's indicative of what you said earlier in the show about people who were afraid of the mob mentality, right? Being intimidated, shut down by the mob, targeted by the mob. And more you're seeing now that it's not the case. Gays Against Grooming is, I think, one example. But on a number of fronts right now.
Now, would it be groomers or grooming?
I don't know. I didn't.
Their official name is Gays Against Groomers.
Oh, is it?
It's like grooming. No, you can put a little gel in your hair and comb it through.
Well, yeah. What about the people that bathe my dog? Look, I don't know.
I'm just having fun.
They can work on the name.
Yeah, continue.
But it's, on every front. Was Zuckerberg at inauguration in 2017
No.
for Trump?
No.
No. It's a lot of people waking up going, you know what? I'm not afraid of the mob anymore. I'm not going to be intimidated by the left.
That's it right there. I love that. Now, we never have been. We've said this, though. I've never seen the intimidation of the left really in 2020, 2021, 2022. I have never seen it permeate all throughout society as it did. The intimidation, the threats, and all based on lies, all based on insanity, yet corporations fell for it. When you talk about the combination of the radical transgender movement, DEI, critical race theory, all that insanity, I never have felt. Now, it didn't affect us, but you could feel that it was there.
Yeah.
You could feel it was there, and you saw other people in the media crumbling to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said this before. Say what you want about conservative talk radio. During that time, it was really, you think about it, it was just a few people, a few Republicans, and conservative talk radio that was blasting it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the insanity that was coming from the left when a lot of other people were afraid, where companies were backing off, sports leagues were backing off. Nobody wanted to actually talk about the truth. It was really, for the most part, conservative talk radio that stood as strong as ever. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about everybody else out there. I'm not patting ourselves on the back. It's just the realization and the observation of what was going on and who was actually fighting back against the insanity.
Right.
I'm talking about our business that we're in, our business and the colleagues that are with us. They're the ones who stood strong.
Right. Yep.
And it should be recognized that they did.
Right.
And I don't think, maybe inside the media, it might have been talked about, but I think it needs to be, promoted that as a whole, without, individual egos involved in it, just as a whole, the reality of what the conservative talk radio did at that time to never let the truth go away with the insanity of critical race theory, DEI, the radical transgender movement, the defund the police movement, all that insanity that was going on. It's conservatives talk radio that stood up against it and never flinched.
Right.
Now, a few people quit.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be this hard. I decided to get in and argue in a free society, and people disagreed with me and threw hate my way. I need to quit. What the hell business you think you were in?
Right.
It's like, come on.
You're not here to be liked.
No, you do not enter this business to be liked.
Yeah. If that's why you got in. Yeah. You took a wrong turn.
That was a wrong, exactly.
Yeah, sorry. You should have gone the other direction.
But I love, you think about it. I love that we are the press. And when I say we, I don't mean me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love that concept on X. I love the community notes. I love that people are getting to say. The left hates it. I love this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because you sit back and you go, well, where the hell do we live? We live in the United States of America. And the average person should always be willing to say, why, you can go to that place that's the opposite of heaven.
Right.
They should always challenge government. They should always challenge those in the media.
Did you just tell people to go to California?
Yes.
Almost said California.
Yes. You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, California. Let's write that down.
Yeah.
California.
I used to say that to a friend because he lives in California. I said, still living in California, huh? What? What did you just say? California. Did you say California? Yeah, I did.
86690 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Your Super Bowl party menu may incorporate famous cuisine from the cities of the participating football teams, barbecue and cheesesteaks, or you may go all out and feature fare found in Super Bowl 59's host city of New Orleans. With plenty of Cajun and Creole delicacies to consider, how to approach it from a food safety perspective. USDA food safety expert Meredith Carruthers says several NOLA food standouts are similar to traditional big game fare food safety-wise. For dishes like gumbo or jambalaya,
similar thoughts to chili.
In practices like keeping it on a stove or in a slow cooker at a warm setting and breaking it down into smaller containers to refrigerate or freeze before 2 hours at room temperature. Po' boy sandwiches have similar food safety practices as subs and burgers.
2-hour rule, not leaving those things out for too long.
To avoid foodborne illness. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Ford Motor Company has reported a $5.1 billion loss on its electric vehicles and software business for 2024, with expectations of even losing more in 2025. But they're optimistic for the future of EVs.
They keep saying that.
I know.
Growing demand, blah, 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 blah. The future, blah, 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 blah. What about now? Yeah, it's horrible.
Wonder how Trump...
How do you get to the future if you don't have the money to get there?
I wonder how the mandate, Trump getting rid of the EV mandate, will change things. I haven't seen any one from the OEM saying that now that this is a part of it, they're going to start, because of the executive order, that they're going to start producing fuel.
Right, because there is right now every reason to believe that if Democrats take over again, if they win in 28 and they come back in, of course, those mandates will be
put back in again.
Right. So, yeah.
Which is why
how
you
do you
need
make
Congress
a move?
To do something.
Exactly.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. I was listening. I think it was Jesse Kelly had the audio cut last night or the night before. Can't remember when it was, of the head of Axios saying that the liberal media has never been weaker.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that with him. And he said,
Yep.
Not that it doesn't exist out there, because it does. It still exists, but they continue to have less and less and less impact. You and I have been saying this for years. We used to get pushback from our own audience on it as recently as probably, 2 years ago? I think it was about 2 years ago was the last time we got it. We said, no, it's changing. Now, one of the reasons is that I'm such an expert on this is because I'm older than most of you, so I remember. I remember when we only had, 3 TV stations. That was it. You had 3 TV stations, and they all went off at midnight.
Because nothing good happens after midnight.
Well, that's we see, they weren't around, we'd have a much even bigger audience.
Exactly.
But you look at what has happened, and the strange thing is that in the media, for example, and we go back to the Democrats going, it's like you don't even know what's been going on in your own world. They go, we need to get our own Joe Rogan.
You had Joe Rogan. You had the actual Joe Rogan.
Yeah, you had.
For the longest time.
You had him.
We need an Elon Musk. You had him, too.
You had him. You had all of them.
If only we could have Michael Rappaport, screaming. You had him for the longest time.
You're losing Hollywood people.
Exactly.
But what the interesting thing is, and I think what the final, if you want to say what the nail in the coffin was, I won't say final nail in the coffin, because we always have ebbs and flows in our society, and hopefully this ebb or flow, whatever this is, will stay a very, 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 very long time, was really X. Mm-hmm. That turnover, I did not see when Elon Musk bought it. You and I both said, pretty bad business deal. That might end up 10 years from now making a huge profit for him.
I think if he's in the long game, I think there will be eventually. Yeah. I don't know how long that will take, but I think the valuation is in, again, the concept, and it's not a hard concept, free speech. Well, it's been part. It's the fundamental of the fundamentals, very fundamentals of our nation, and applied here after so long of the left controlling that, and even the FBI getting involved to control it to a certain extent, and now that era is over.
The brand was so, think about this, the brand was so damaged. Think about it from strictly a business point of view. Forget about the politics of it. From a business point of view, it was a very damaged brand. Mm-hmm. Because any conservatives, I'm not going to go on there, they're going to censor me.
Right.
And when Elon Musk took over, it was like, well, okay, now it's just all conservatives. Then he went to Community Notes, and now, have you noticed that Democrats are now coming back to X? Mm-hmm. You've noticed that? Mm-hmm. We all noticed that, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you want, though. You want that. You want to have that debate. You want to have that Community Notes. Why do I go to Twitter every day? Excuse me, X every day? Whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Because it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah. Because
when you have that going back and forth, there's a certain level of entertainment. There's a certain level of BS.
Right.
There's a lot level of misinformation on it, but the Community Notes are all over that, and people are all over it, and it makes it so much fun to see somebody put up something stupid and get blasted for it. I mean, it's entertaining, and I'm saying this from a business model. Whatever you do, remember when Rush first came out and Rush said, well, I'm an entertainer, and people said, well, you can't take him seriously because he's an entertainer. Well, of course, that's ridiculous, because some of the best entertainers I've ever had were teachers.
Yeah, sure.
And so you can learn something and be entertained, and that's the whole point. If you can have a media outlet, no matter what it is, television, radio, digital, social media, and you can't wait to see what the idiots and at the same time what the smart people are going to say. That's, I mean, as Banya would say to Jerry Seinfeld, that's gold. That's what you want, and that's what Elon Musk has done, and in doing so, made it for the future probably a better business model for growth because he got rid of 90% of the employees.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
I mean, I'm looking strictly at the business model of it.
Right.
But for the country, it's wonderful. I've always believed in free speech because I've always believed that the average person should be able to have an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitter gives them that outlet.
Yep.
X gives them that outlet.
Right.
Now, Facebook does, but Facebook, just because of the brand and what it was and what it became, is not X. Still, for the people that use Facebook, it's become more connecting with friends and family.
It's your online picture book, basically.
Online picture book, yeah. Instagram, I just hate how it's formatted. The format of Instagram just does not. I look at it, I go, I don't care. It's just pictures all over the place. I don't care.
Well, that and videos, and it's like, it's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I'm only on Instagram because my great nephew is, and I can see some of his basketball stuff. I think I posted once on Instagram, and it's my great nephew's basketball plays.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about a month ago. And that's the only thing that I've, put on. And Facebook is a way that I keep in touch with my really good friends and the people that I went to high school with and my relatives. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I post are all, personal on it. People that get really political, as you see on Facebook, look at the number of people that respond. It's nothing.
And for me, it has become, and I enjoy this, a way to avoid my friends and relatives. So it's
because you're not on it. You're not.
I've got
really
an account. I just never go there.
Yeah.
I've been to MySpace since the last time I got on Facebook.
And to me, Facebook, there's more sports stuff on it. People are discussing sports or whatever.
Yeah, it's a different experience altogether. It was designed to be.
Yeah.
It's why I think Zuckerberg bought Instagram. I think that's why they had to really incorporate Instagram into the whole meta thing, because it's like, this isn't going to get us there. The user base on Facebook is aging, and young people are not on Facebook. And Instagram, though, they use. So, that's how you create that business model.
And I've also said, like, YouTube, I saw it yesterday, and because I really think it's an amazing evolution. I've often talked about there's this guy on YouTube I mentioned before, Cash Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was go through different apartments in New York City.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about YouTube is the fact that I actually pay not to have commercials. I find that people producing their own content is better than I can get from the networks. For the most part. I'm not saying the networks don't produce
It's much
any good
more
shows.
interesting because I can find anything of my interest. I can, whatever. I can get information. I was watching this guy who is he's in his mid-40s. He's been a mechanic since he was a kid, working on cars. He'll still YouTube stuff. I wonder how this part is, because I don't know how this works, and he'll YouTube something. And I do that all the time. But you can find the entertainment. Hollywood will never catch up with that factor, in my opinion. That's never going to, because Hollywood feeds you something. YouTube has it all laying there, and you can just search whatever. And the content providers are constant. They're constantly putting stuff on there. It's a much better experience.
Well, this Cash Jordan, all he did was, is basically involved in the apartment renting business.
Mm-hmm.
And he would put together YouTube videos of apartments that are $20,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Condos, it may be. In case you do condos, it might be 20 million, 30 million.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones way up on the skyscrapers, some of the buildings are building in New York City. And the smallest apartments. I never forget the one that was like $800 a month, and it was a closet. We're in a pretty small studio.
Mm-hmm.
It was from that sign there to over here.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably, I'm not kidding, the whole apartment was probably 8x4. And then this woman had a bathroom outside. Mm-hmm. And she had a little bunk. There was a window up there, and everything was as extremely cramped, and she was trying to save money. Well, I'm fascinated by people. I would never want to live in New York City ever, ever. I'm not a city person, just not. I'm a suburb being close to the farmland. But, and I would watch his videos, and he would go through and say, this apartment has this, and it was just very entertaining to watch. Well, about a year ago, because of everything going on in the apartment, he evolved into saying, New York is going to hell. And every video he does, and I'm thinking to myself, from the business model, because I knew, he was in the real estate business. I still think he is. But everything he does, nothing is about apartments anymore. It's about the destruction of New York. And he edits, he's great at editing. And I'm like, can he make this transition? Because you look at it and you go, okay, this was your brand over here. You were showing apartments. And now you've become an analyst criticizing where New York is going. Started paying attention to the numbers. He has more numbers now, a lot more numbers, where he evolved from just doing apartments to doing about the destruction of New York, basically what liberals are doing to New York, and going through the streets and looking at the homeless. And those are the videos that he puts out now. His name is Cash, C-A-S-H, Jordan, and he goes through and he's, it's very fast-paced. The editing is great. He throws in statistics. These are the statistics. Government here, boom, boom, boom. He does it in a nice little package, and you walk away going, whoa.
Yeah. Right.
And he's doing it himself. And that's just one of the things. I'm fascinated right now. The thing I'm on now is the battery generators. How the new, not lithium, but it was the iron phosphate lithium batteries.
Yeah.
And not the power packs there, and how powerful they are, and, everything from, all the different models now and what they can produce, and how these engineers are going in saying, okay, let's check this battery pack here, and let's check it. Let's run it as, maximum, let's see what it can run in a house. Let's put a refrigerator on it. Let's throw an air conditioner on it. And, how they keep building these things bigger and bigger and bigger, and trying to say this is better than having a gasoline generator or even a natural gas.
Right.
Because that's one of the problems we have where I live. If I had a natural gas generator, when I would have really needed it, I wouldn't have been able to run it because the natural gas pressure went so low. So it's like, okay, would one of the big batteries do it?
Right.
Could I run the house for a day, or just keep the refrigerator going? Maybe not the heater, but I got the fireplace. But get another type of portable heater to do that. But can I make coffee, keep the refrigerator going, I find that kind of stuff fascinating. And all these guys and gals are analyzing all of this, and it's really cool. They produce better content, but overall, the reason it changed, it didn't change from the top down. It wasn't that somebody went, I'm going to produce this conservative media. It was the demand that came from, I think, the destruction, the implosion of the mainstream media on itself. And people were looking for another
exactly. They were doing the same lying that the people in office were doing. In fact, they were carrying those same lies for those people. And so when it fails for the left, the leftist media, of course, is going to also fail.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing, the transformation in the media, just over a couple of years.
Yep.
I hope it continues. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right. We get to take a break for a couple of days.
Yeah. All right, folks, we'll be right back. I mean, it really is. It's never ending, but it will be interesting to see where the left takes it now, because every protest that they have, which is pretty much on everything, on every front, is bringing the conversation again to the top of minds of every rank and file American.
And everything is a rage response.
Exactly. And it's like, why are they so crazy angry over this? It's like, So we'll see where it goes. They're calling, this is war. We're taking it to the streets. We'll see where that goes.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.